Well, I'm Brian, and Joe is here as well. Hopefully, people can hear me and hear me well and hear what I say. This is Tim Pool, um, Red Peel hero, champion of the First Amendment, RZ something else. I was going to play clips. The first clip I was going to play of, I believe it's Will Hayes of the Hayes office, and one of the first known things of censorship that I can recall that America put us through within the modern times with regards to I don't know what you could say electronic media.
Let me let me just say this: it is July 7th. It's Thursday night, and you are listening to Transparency and Merit. Sorry, go ahead, Brian.
Well, yes, and I just wanted to mention the Hayes office and also the Legion of Decency. They were the first ones to have a form of production code within this country and this nation. I don't know if other countries had a production code, and it was primarily things that were offensive to America's Judeo-Christian values and to our what we call patriotic values. And now, come on years later, and this also happened with the FCC with regards to radio, and then with regards to television, with regards to the FCC, and then came along the internet, and the internet was, from my personal perspective, was about the information superhighway and the age of information, and YouTube and Twitter and Facebook. They were all about people exchanging ideas, and little by little, people consider ideas to be dangerous, and certain ideas are to be pushed, and other ideas are to be shut down. And for me, one of the people that is in that fight is Tim Pool. I feel that he is, I guess you could call a red pill person, or a person that promotes freedom of speech. Because the mainstream media, I think it was Brian Stelter that said, freedom of speech does not mean freedom of reach. Who the hell are you to say that? And with, like certain media records of making mistakes and messing up and being wrong, who are they to say who has the right to be wrong and inaccurate? Because they've been inaccurate several times. And Tim Pool points that out, that the establishment and the elites are allowed to be wrong all the time.
I want to just chip in there and add to what you just said. Freedom of speech is freedom of reach, or is not? I'm sure. How did you?
Stelter says freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom of reach.
Okay, and I do take I do stand by that. I think that's an interesting comment. I see it a different way. These people, a lot of times, are allowed that freedom of reach, meaning that I feel that there are a lot of mainstream media talking heads, and a lot of people will disagree that this is even mainstream media, but it is. It is. This is the mainstream is here. Anybody who denies that, I think, is completely missing the point. But these certain people are allowed to kind of maneuver their ways to getting a huge audience, a huge reach, and a lot of people find a lot of fault in how that is decided on. And I feel that there is a severe lack of transparency when it comes to that. I don't know how a lot of these people get millions of followers, but it's also my understanding that nobody gets to have the reach like this, getting the reach of millions of people, and not have signed some sort of deal. So yeah, it's not something that anybody can just walk into. It's got to be allowed at some point, and that's how I feel a lot of these guys do, and women get to be able to have such a wide spectrum of audience.
So, are you saying you are in favor of? I apologize. I was loading video. This video onto other platforms at that time. I think I'll do that later on, though, when the show is finished. But you know what? And when I was doing that, I wasn't necessarily paying attention to the things that you were saying. So, do you want to rephrase that, or because you said something? Go ahead.
Freedom of speech is not freedom of reach. It doesn't necessarily mean freedom of reach, I think, is where we're starting, right? And I agree. There's a lack of transparency. There's a lack of merit. And I feel that a lot of people get their own freedom of reach. A lot of mainstream media talking heads, they get their freedom of reach in ways that I feel may lack transparency and merit. And it's unfortunate that there's people that I listen to regularly that they struggle to get up to I guess like 100,000 subs is like a huge milestone for you on YouTube. So these guys and women fail to get anywhere close to that. Meanwhile, other people who are heavily favored by the YouTube algorithm, whatever it is, I think there's a lack of transparency there on how these people achieve the ability to reach so many people, while other people I feel that may resonate on a different level, maybe even more truthful, less inflammatory, with less partiality towards things that are maybe considered fear mongering. So yeah, I think there is an issue there. I don't know if it actually makes sense in the way it's whole freedom of speech does not always equal freedom of reach.
No, he was saying freedom of speech does not equal freedom of reach, and what Brian Stelter was saying was that certain information is not helpful, and we will decide, that information needs to go through a filter before it comes out to the public. Is kind of what he was pushing for. And in my opinion, Brian Stelter is on a program that has been proven like wrong and full of shit several times. And who the hell are you? Who the hell are you to lecture me on freedom of reach when the stuff that you've talked about is full of garbage? It's full of nonsense. And now you want to lecture us on what our freedoms should be? Go to hell, man. Go to hell.
I haven't really listened to him. So what sort of points of view is he like? Did he talk about the abortion issue? Did he talk about anything recently that was of importance?
He talks about the election. He talks about the big lie. He talks about January 6th. He goes on about Tucker Carlson and how he is dangerous for the American people, that he spreads misinformation. And who is he to say?
So he's just big time mainstream media.
Oh yeah, yeah. And it's like, who are you to tell somebody that they, that they have to limit their reach to what they say? Why don't you prove them wrong? If what you say is true, prove them wrong. Why do you have to limit their freedom of reach? Why can't the audience decide that? Why can't me and you as human beings look at something and we'll decide what we want to believe or what we don't?
I'm kind of looking at it solely on the words and how how they have meaning to me. So because I don't follow Brian Seltzer much, I do know who you're talking about, and I'm just hearing the words, and when I hear reach, to me that is a huge. I think it's a huge area that lacks transparency and merit.
Brian, okay, I don't mean to cut you off, Joe, but Brian Stelter was saying what he was saying, that information that people are putting out there is too dangerous for the populace to hear. That misinformation, that a lot of these YouTube channels were pointing out misinformation. Some of the information happened to end up being true, particularly about the pandemic and about the virus, and that we can't even talk about it or discuss it. This affected our lives in ways in which they have, that have happened in ways that have never happened before, and we can't discuss this issue. People are losing their job because they refuse certain medical procedures, and we can't discuss this issue. Give me a break. And this guy, there was lab leak theory that was considered conspiracy theory and misinformation. Now it's considered very credible. And I've never seen anything like this in my lifetime. And I don't know if they've always been this way, or because there was no internet at that time to fact check the things that they get wrong and the news stories that they get wrong. But
Brian, go watch Citizen Kane. Told you this 100 times. You'll have a whole new set of eyes when you see that movie, and you'll understand that that's all media has ever been.
You know what, Joe? You might be very right. But I've been a movie fan, and I've been a news since I've been like 7, 8, 10 years old. Probably a film junkie since about 7, 8, 9, and then a news junkie since probably about 10 to now, to my 52 years of age. And I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen behavior in this manner from newscasters. And I look at Tim Pool as somebody who is pushing back against the certain personalities that have overtaken the establishment, that have overtaken the large companies that affect our lives. And whether they have a legal right to it or not, it still sucks. And that's where I'm coming from. It sucks. What they're doing sucks. What they're doing stinks. Human beings are.
And I'm glad you're screaming at it, because it is time. If you remember the movie Network, it's time to get mad. It really is. It's time to. It's even past time, because a lot of things have just kind of come and gone by the wayside, and people are left standing and staring like, what the hell just happened? And meanwhile, we are pushed an experimental at best drug. We were pushed to cover our spirit every time we walked into a store. We were forced to even, stay home, or at least heavily encouraged in most places. And oh, what a drag it is! But I've been yelling this out for a long time, and I have been called, I've been looked at sideways for a long time. But I think a lot of people are really, they're mad as hell, and they're not going to take it anymore.
And the thing is, I don't know if anger is the solution, but maybe firmness. And now Are you putting something up there, Joe? Oh, there you go. Oh wait, or is that just? Yeah, it started to fold out. But you know, I am angry about it. But by nature, I would be angry because you're not putting me. You're not putting me at a place on the table, and a lot of the things that the establishment is pushing out there is very mean and very vindictive. If you go against them in any way, if you question them in any way, and
Well, look at the numbers, man. The rich have gotten richer. The elite have become more elite. We're working towards a system, that limits even more freedom, if you could believe that. But if we go to a system that's fully engaged in digital currency, I don't think people understand the restrictions on freedom that will happen. Meanwhile, we're being tossed these stories that look at the gas, for example. Look at gas. One of the major banks, I want to say Bank of America, but it might have been Morgan Stanley, or it was a big bank that came out and said gas prices now, which are for crude oil, are at $100 a barrel, and they came out and said if we fall into recession, which is such a joke, a recession would be an upgrade from where we're at. We've been heavily deep in a recession, but for some reason they still say if we fall into they're saying if we fell into a recession, you'd see the crude oil prices fall to $60 a barrel. Brian, I can tell you right now what you would see. You would see a tremendous story happen. A false flag or hoax of some sort would come up because crude oil is the lifeblood of the military industrial complex, and they will not suffer a giant drop in the crude oil prices. So there's so many wheels turning right now, and people don't see that. They don't recognize that as even an issue, because these things happen. They see it and they go, oh, okay, well, okay, well, I'll pay a little bit more at the tank this week, I guess. But it's such a bone crusher when I see how much more strong the elite have become, whether it's left or right, I don't know, but they've made more money over the last 5 years than what is imaginable. And it's become, and meanwhile, the middle class have gotten severely shortchanged, and also we're being told that the economy is so great, and the only reason it's even where it's at is because of all the easy money that was made with all these crazy checks that were sent out. Give me a break. But yeah, anyways, it's all artificially held up at this point. And who's benefited the most? It's been the elite, and it's a quantum leap. It's not even close. I mean, it's just such a ridiculous difference. I mean, I could tell you numbers based on personal experience, but that's just one story. Overall, it's just incredible at how strong financially these groups have become. And so yeah, they're going to fight for certain things like the mandates and just following along, because and meanwhile they don't have to, right? Rules don't apply to them, but let everybody else go to the supermarket. With last summer was ridiculous. Take last summer, it was broiling hot, and never mind. I don't even want to go there. But yeah, Brian, did any of that make sense to you?
some of it did. I mean, again, I don't know what motivates human beings, and I thought a lot about my father, who, like, I think family does the most harm to you good or harm to you than anything else. And my father came from an alcoholic household. His father died at 49 years of age from alcoholism. And my father, and I won't get into the cruel, some of the cruel things that he did to me, but he did have an awakening as a human being. And I think when you go through recovery or anything like that, self-reflection is important. And these groups that run these these social media companies seem to have a lot of self-reflection. They're very sanctimonious, and my father was a sanctimonious man to a degree. So I see that, and I can also be a sanctimonious man. But I want people that run things, I want them to have some form of self-reflection, and I want them to have as open door of a policy as humanly possible. And I'm not saying that I deserve that, but other people deserve an open door policy. And it seems like there's gaslighting and hypocrisy, and that's abuse. And this is not just the media along with social media. It seems like that banks and our financial institutions have co-opted a lot of ideologies that I think are very unhealthy, that I think are really destructive. And it's sad to see these individuals in power, because I think that they're unfair. And I think that it takes away from a forgiveness society, because it took me a while, but you got to forgive. Sometimes you got to forgive the person for being who they are, because they had really bad, and I think my old man had some really awful things done to him as a child, and even maybe even as an adult, and he made a lot of mistakes, but he was human, and he comes from his experience, and those things should be understood and be talked about. And I don't see that today. I see a lot of vilification of people who disagree and have certain views, and it's gotten worse over time. And it seems like today there's no room for understanding anyone with regards to the human nature. And it kind of makes me sad, and it makes me kind of lose hope for society in general. I'm like, I don't know what's going on within this world, but for me, I go to anybody who's going to champion the cause for freedom of speech and freedom of association and open and honest dialogue, and he's one of the champions out there, and I do hope for more of it. I want a free and open society, and I want to be able to discuss and have discussions with people. And those that don't want it, who are offended by what I say, are offended by my ideas, I'd like them to tell me why my ideas are offensive. And if they can't, well, okay, let someone else talk to me. Don't just bar me from a place. And if you're going to punish me, you should tell me why. I think as a human being, Joe, anytime punishment happens, due process should be strived for. If you're going to get someone fired from a job, or you're going to cost them economic hardship, you should at least explain yourself to why you're doing this. And I see this quite often where people are debanked, or their credit cards are declined and stuff like that. And it's like, why is this happening? And this is happening to people who are opposing them, and it's like,
absolutely. And I think I think you're part of a growing legion of people who already have kind of you've looked at your opposition and you've recognized it for what it is. I don't feel there's been the introspection that the right has had on itself in an honest way. I think both sides. I think to create a dualistic society in this way has proven over time to really create a mess, and this is a total mess. And I feel, unfortunately, that there someone like Tim Pool, it uses situations that are in the media, and he uses them in a fear-mongering sort of way, in a way that riles people up. And then maybe that's what people want. Maybe that's the entertainment aspect of what he does. I guess reporting what really truthfully happens can be boring at times, but I feel that that guys like him have been a disservice, and they've strayed too far from truth, or they've sold out some things, aspects of truth, in return for a large audience. And that's just been my perspective. I'm not a big fan. I don't follow a lot of. I know he's very capable at interviewing, and I just feel there's a slant. And I made the challenge. Go ahead and listen to any 10 minutes of a Timcast where it's him in a monologue sort of situation, not when he's doing interviews. Listen to any 10 minutes, and you're going to hear some fear mongering going on. And maybe it's that's him taking chances. Sometimes he's right, sometimes he's wrong. But I just, as long as these guys are taking accountability at the end of the day, and recognizing it, nobody's right all the time. Same goes for even my favorite podcasts. They make mistakes, and they are sure to admit it. And that's what I've gone. That's why I return to those shows. I've found something that resonates with me. I'm included. I'm part of a group of people who I'm not in the group per se, but when there is a topic, there is an issue out there, I feel like it's a place, with like-minded people at very least, and I share ideas openly in that context without the ridicule. But I go outside of that sort of stop it. If I go outside of that, oh, my dog's going berserk. Anyways, when I do go outside of that those people, and out in the general, out in the world, a lot of these ideas are still highly scrutinized, even though they're completely valid, even very truthful. So you got to be careful what people are ready for. Absolutely, it could cause. I understand that whole concept too. When certain ideas are put out there, if people aren't ready for the information, it could be damaging. It could be more harmful than it is helpful. So that's one thing I've learned over time, if nothing else, is like, know your audience, and know that that words that you say, words have meaning, and the things you say can have side effects that you may not have anticipated. And I live by that now more than I did before. I think 10 years ago when we started podcasting, we didn't have that. We came on be responsible for yourself. But enough people have taken things we've said in context or out, and they've tried at least to punish us on some level, and other times they've been more accepting. What do you think?
I go back to, we are all human beings. I've heard it said, and I kind of believe this, we're not logical human beings, we're social human beings. And we are human beings who like to is a person who likes to bounce around ideas and bounce around thoughts. Take that off, please. God. But I find the restrictions to be kind of sad, and I just I feel that there are a lot of individuals out there that are absolutely like brainwashed, and they are fanatical, and there are fanatical groups on both sides, but the one who is protesting, who is you know, I would say part of the left, they're far more fanatical and far less likely to talk to you, and more likely to want to do you harm, whether it be economically or physically. On average, not 100 percentile. And the manner in which the news media portrays things and the perceptions of things does kind of upset me, because what the news media sometimes is putting out there with regards to important stories. I'm seeing something completely different, and they're not even acknowledging that exists. And oftentimes they don't acknowledge the mistakes that they've made. CNN has yet to really talk about the Covington kids that they got sued for. And I don't remember that happening, a news media company being sued for any reason. 30, 40 years ago. I never remember that kind of behavior. And and again, you're right. The news media has always been biased, and it's always maybe tried to put something one way or the other. I've seen Citizen Kane. I don't know if I believe that there's somebody behind the scenes saying, the company, people will believe what I want to believe, and it's kind of like, to me, there's kind of a fakeness there. I think people actually believe, and this is where I come, in, that their ego believes that what they're doing is correct and right. And that's where I come in with the human spirit and humanity. Most people, even when they're doing wrong, most of the time believe that what they're doing is correct and right. And that's where moral authoritarians come in. And the people I've seen, they absolutely believe, they were absolutely passionate about what they were doing, about what they were saying, and they did not want to be questioned. And again, some of these people do have the halls of power, or the ears of people in power. And that did bother me, and it still bothers me to this day. And 2020, I saw a cultural revolution that was forced upon me and those who think like me, who liked classic films and liked certain and had certain historical monuments and other things like that I grew up with. Torn down. And not to say that they shouldn't have been, but the manner in which it was done and the cruelty in which it was done, in my opinion, was not good. And this cultural revolution that the establishment supports, it stinks. And Tim Pool highlights that, and he articulates that. And for that, I am very grateful. There's not I don't agree with everything that Tim Pool says, and there are probably things that Tim Pool has said that may be wrong and may be what you call fear mongering. But at its base, he talks about the establishment and what what the establishment groups are supporting. And to me, he's fighting against the man. He's fighting against the authority, and he's one of the fighters who's punching up. I could be absolutely wrong on that, but that's what I observe. And for someone who's a film fan and a news junkie and an information junkie, I like information. I may not be the best, the best at deciphering. I may not be the best educated, but I like these things. And a lot of things have been taken away from me. in my opinion, like, Google, the way Google works, the way YouTube works, the way the algorithms work. And I just think it stinks. And if you were a person that had good ideas, you could gain traction, and that's not necessarily the case anymore, and that's sad. This, there was a time when YouTube was made primarily for, the average American with a few bucks in his pocket to give out information, and now it's taken over by the establishment in the mainstream, and they have their ideology. And if you go against their ideology, they will limit your access because their ideology is king, and they don't have to explain their ideology. You just have to obey, and that's very authoritarian and not very good.
And that's exactly where we're heading.
And
that's exactly where it's only going to get worse.
I do feel to a degree deprived of full citizenship of my 14th Amendment rights, because it's the elites that are allowed to talk. And, it's like, man, we were given a place at the dinner table to show how well and good our skills were. And, only a few get to pass, the few that we agree with. And the rest, you got to sit home and you got to sit in a corner. And that stinks. And I certainly don't feel good about that. And the people who don't want to have conversations, the people who want to shout you down. And, some of the things that I've witnessed, I forget her name, but she's with PragerU. And she was at a college. And she, and there were people protesting her. And she brought food to the... She brought food to the event, and I think she brought SpaghettiOs. And every time they went to talk to her, they went, "Uh-oh, SpaghettiO." And I think to myself, man, I don't want you people in charge of anything. You're obnoxious. You're rude. You have no respect or decency for any other human being. Why by nature, even if I didn't agree with the person, why by nature would I want you in charge of anything when you shut people down and tell them to be quiet, and if they say something you disagree with, you decide to punish them? And it bothers me. Social media started things like cancel culture, and social media allows the cancel culture crowd to get away with things the other group can't. And it's almost like the normal people, the people who are thinking, cannot put up any resistance towards it. That's what it feels like. And we're stuck between a rock and a hard place within the society, and that stinks. And it does bother me.
No thinking allowed.
No thinking allowed. You're not allowed to, or you're not allowed to express your thoughts unless they are, unless they're part of the hive mind. Unless you believe what they believe. If you got maybe a Ukrainian flag, and you believe, you believe the mainstream and establishment narrative about things, but if you step out of line against them, I mean, we gave over $40 billion to the Ukrainian for war. Mm-hmm. You speak against the narrative, they'll limit your reach. Freedom of speech does not mean freedom of reach. And if you go against our narrative, we're the ones that can be wrong. We can make mistakes and even get sued. You shut up. And again, how am I to feel about the people that are on the nightly news who push that stuff, who want to stop a small person like me or somebody else from speaking? I'm going to think that person stinks. And a lot of these guys, they lecture you. And I don't want to be told what you think. I want to be delivered the news, and I want to decide for myself what is or is not truth. What is or is not a lie. I'll make that decision. And if you are against something, or you think something is true, you should put opposition to it. You should put opposition to your beliefs if you're a reporter. But they're not interested in having a conversation. They're interested in converting you to their ideas.
Well, I think that's also the product of a materialistic society gone berserk, and where rewards are completely demented. The reward system and what makes those who feel successful is completely warped and turned upside down on its head. What's up, Coco? So yeah, that's just my 2 cents on that. What are you writing down there?
I was going to say I disagree with you on this. This, to me, is a product of an ideological society, a brainwashed and ideological society that does not want to be questioned on things and does not want to see.
They don't know, and they're happy getting new cars, new homes, new things, but they are not. I feel they're completely skipping steps, and they are not rewarded for their own ability, their own thoughts, and their intelligence. And I think the world's actually accepted that and it's been happy with that in a growing way. That determines a person's worth, I suppose, today.
I honestly, Joe, I believe that there are two different camps in this thing. There are people who care about their cars and their things, and they give in to the mob because they're afraid. And then there is the brainwashed masses who have however they've gotten the seats of power, are on these boards, maybe in HR departments, but they make policy for a lot of programs.
Well, Brian, I'm going to step in and just say that thank God you're not right on this in this example. You have set the materialists against the hive mind. You said there's two people: the people who do fight and struggle for that new car and that new home, and then you have, this other side. But what if neither of those is a measure of my wealth?
Again, I'm not.
There's the room for that.
I'm not gathering, because again, what I'm seeing is that a hive mind has taken over much parts of the establishment, and they are a very vindictive and very nasty group. And if you oppose them, they will punish you.
What makes them a hive mind?
What makes them? Ideology.
So you think there's two kinds of people, one with a hive mind mentality, and what would be? I'm not getting you here. What would be the offset?
There are those with a hive mind mentality who have and like I said, if I'm wrong on this, I would want further examination of it.
No, I'm just asking you what were the two? What are you saying here?
I'm saying that there's a hive mind mentality who have taken over the establishment and have the ability to punish. And then there are, like I would say, the rest of us who are afraid of them and afraid to stand up to them because they come after you with such ferocity. And they can't, from my understanding, they attack you both legally and economically and sometimes physically.
the court of public opinion, I think, is the hive mind. It's more generally called.
They want, okay, I just want.
And I feel that is such a strong point of view.
Can I just jump in here? Because you said the court of public opinion. They want control of the court of public opinion. They want their ideology put forth without question. You just obey.
Yep.
And Coco says he wants to hear names.
Well, okay, just look at, the mask wearing, for example, was a court of public opinion issue. I don't know. He can go down the list from there, but I'm just saying, like, there is something to be said for it. It is the most powerful court in the world, by the way.
What's that?
I just added that it is the most powerful court in the world. It's the court of public opinion.
All right. Kevin says, Kendra M says, the hive mind who watch TV and the rest of us who research and turned off the programming. And
I feel that easy. The problem is, there are too many people who haven't done the research. They've turned off the TV, or they've at very least recognized what the TV is, but they haven't. Don't tell me there's two courts here. There's two kinds here. There's certainly more. And the court of public opinion pushes them away, and so do the people who have recognized that the TV is as evil as we thought it was. I still think there's yet more, just not as strong a legion, but there's more ways to think. I believe there are people who are not afraid, and they're just finding what a screwy mess it is, and how the legal system and how the court of opinion and how everything has merged, basically. I mean, you could also look at it in terms of in the corporate world, how many there are people that contend that there's really only two companies in the world, and they own the rest of it all. Now we get the metaverse.
Yeah, and Kendra says the echo chamber is on TV, and the echo chamber is in the movies, TV, and the people who control social media. And Coco said he wants names. I can think of that person, and I can't think of the name offhand, but I may say something later. There was a Jen Wojcicki. She was. Once Elon Musk decided or was thinking about buying Twitter, or in the process of buying Twitter, I don't know if that's going to go through all the way, but they the administration had got a thing of had hired a person, or was thinking of hiring a person to combat disinformation, and really somebody hired by a political party to combat misinformation. And all you have to, the people, Coco, all you have to do is look at the news and see how they cover things. I can't remember when a protest that turned into a riot was called mostly peaceful. For the most part, that's a riot. It's no longer a mostly peaceful protest. They're changing the language right in front of us. The word Latinx, that's another thing that they're changing in front of us that's unpopular. And they want to change the reality and the perceptions of society. And films and television have wanted to do that for the longest of time. And I think I'll end on this. I remember I had Colin Flaherty, and I know I've said this several times. Colin Flaherty, I had him on my show, and he wrote the book White Girl Bleed a Lot. And I had mentioned that years ago, Rod Serling, because basically throughout the media ignored him, and then when he got on the internet, basically he was censored and taken off of YouTube. They never gave him a reason to why this was happening. They just said hate speech, and the information that he was given was hate speech. And I remember, watching a documentary about Rod Serling, and Rod Serling had a dramatization about Emmett Till. And I think it was maybe 1957, maybe 1958. And the corporation said, this is something that will never fly. We can't do this. And the same thing is being done today with regards to news. There are people that they want people who think like them. And if you don't think like them, then you're out on your rear, and you're not going to get anything. I also want to mention that James Caan passed away. Sonny from The Godfather. He was also in El Dorado with John Wayne, and he will be missed. Maybe you'll see my old man. Him and my old man were I think about the same age. And he was 82 years of age. My father would also be 82 years of age. So rest in peace, James Caan. Joey, anything else to add?
Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, James Caan. I didn't know. I'm just going to end also on a couple thoughts here that the world, and think about this, Brian, that the world is exactly as it should be according to the court of public opinion. And also people should, when I look at guys like Tim Pool, and it's not so much that I just don't follow him. I've heard what I've heard. And my observations led me to one place, but all I can add to it is if you accept if you accept another's narrative, you are not the author. The truth is, one who seeks to achieve freedom by petitioning those in power to give it to him has already failed, regardless of the response. To beg for the blessing of authority is to accept the choice is the master's alone to make, which means that the person is already by definition a slave. So I'll leave it at that, and choose wisely, and know that if somebody's broadcasting in millions and millions of minds, that they're under a contract of some kind, and they're compromised in some way. And like Brian said to me earlier, nobody's perfect. So I guess we have to accept that at some point. I just I don't give in to any of these people because I know there are people I listen to who resonate and say more things and would rather fail trying to do the right thing than to win by not doing the right thing. And it shows in some of these people, and their numbers are a direct reflection of that. They get censored, they get shadow banned, and they're severely restricted in how they progress. And so you got to do this little tap dance, and I'm choosing wisely on which tap dancers I accept and give my time to. Anyways, that's it for me.
Well, yeah, and again, I'm mainly a movie fan and again a news junkie, and there are things that I've enjoyed throughout my life, and I'm seeing those things really taken a back seat. And, of course, back then, certain things may have been offensive, but the manner in which things were done and the way they were done in 2020 was really just very harsh and very cruel and very vindictive. And I think that there needs to be, hopefully, there will be open debate on exactly what happened during that time, during COVID, and during these riots. I would like to see transparency on that, and also on diversity programs and on health programs. I want to know what's going on, and I want to I want answers to information, whether it be election integrity or the riots or female to male biology. Anyway, Joe, is there anything to add before we call this show a day?
Well, yeah, there's a whole lot, but I think we threw our email out there if you want to hit us up at transparencyandmerit@gmail.com. And I think we're going to work on the website soon. But yeah, that's it. I'm good.
Yeah. I thank everyone for listening. And again, to all my noble people out there who are straight, gay, Christian, transsexual, if you're a Muslim, atheist, you're welcome to join us in having an honest and open discussion and giving your opinions. Anyway, that's all. Subscribe, leave a comment down below. Also, share the video if you've gained anything from that. Thank you for listening.